We are live.
Live.
Welcome, everybody, to the 12th installment of Playtest This, featuring a really strange lineup right now because Jack Dunbar is the co host.
Yep.
He is also the featured guest.
What? Surprise
Sam
twist.
Barmettler is normally our number one comments section fan and follower, and today he is the only other playtester. So we're playing a shell game where now we don't know who's going to monitor the comments on
I
YouTube.
I did beat Sam to the chat
Okay.
and say hi Sam, which is customary. But
Yeah.
also, but Sam, now you're moderating.
All right.
I'm just a guest.
I'll do my best to keep an eye on things. I am nowhere in the moderator that Jack is. You don't even
So
know the things I
Very
haven't said in that chat because Jack was there.
Jack is very moderate.
right, exactly, right down the middle. If anybody out there watching right now wants to be a playtester in the future, let us know, and we'll get you on. You can play test some games and give your thoughts and help other designers improve their games.
Yeah.
People need help. So come
Yeah.
on out, be a
Also
playtester.
also taking game submissions for playtesting too, right, Evan?
Oh yeah. We've only got I think two more lined up right now, so it's time to fill out that roster again.
Nice. Yeah, and
I go in bursts of like filling it up and then slacking and then filling it up and then slacking. So right now it is not full. So if
yeah.
anybody needs their game, playtest it. Let us know. There's basically two games that we don't want to see, or two reasons you might come on the show that is what we're not looking for. And that is if your game is just looking for exposure and not actually interested in receiving feedback. We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not open to feedback, don't bring it on with people giving
Yeah.
you feedback.
Right.
And the other one is, uh, you know,
If it's
nothing
already published and
nothing overtly offensive.
yeah.
You know, but aside from that, if you're open to feedback, and it doesn't, I've had lots of people ask me like, what stage does it have to be in? You know, like, do I need fancy art? Does it need to be graphically designed nice?
Oh no.
Basically, no. Bring us
Yeah.
anything at any point in the process. And if it's early, come back later on, let us know what you changed.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Not fancy, not necessary. Um, you
Sometimes they
know,
are fancy, like Sam Bartmettler's Outrun the Bear, but
yes.
So
Yeah.
this is looking pretty fancy itself.
this one is getting fancy.
We
Okay,
should
so
still do introductions.
yes, so I am your co-host, Evan Albert. Currently, if you want to find a game of mine, it is After the Empire from Gray Fox Games. Um, Theoretically, I have others on the way. Yak?
Theoretically. My name is Jack, co-host from New Kingdom Gaming. But today I am the guest and I get to show off one of my games. And this is the game that I'm hoping to publish first in my lineup. So my goal is create a publishing company, and this will be first. So this game is in development. It's through what I would consider like a core design phase and into the place of, making some tweaks, but you never know what can happen when you get a playtest. So I'm open to feedback of any kind.
Now, Jack, I'm curious to know, when is New Kingdom Arborists coming out?
Gardeners.
No,
Oh,
Arborists.
oh,
I want to know when the
arborists.
next.
Yeah, that's an expansion. All trees.
And then Sam, sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I am Sam Barmettler, your playtester for tonight, guest playtester, I guess, and frequent commenter, as Evan said. Uh, Designer and hopeful self-publisher of Outrun the Bear. And if I may, just for the future watchers out there. So I know us designers, we can be a little crazy. So if you put something in the comments about Jack's game after this has already been published, it doesn't have to be while we're live. Jack will probably find out about that, and that may be something that makes this game better. So
Yeah.
don't forget to comment as you're watching right now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Sam.
Yep.
And Sam, congrats on the shout out on Quackalope. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And fun
We were
couple of days.
that was
we were
awesome,
chatting
man.
about the behind the scenes of that. I think you should share, Sam. How did you get on Quack Club?
Yeah, tell the story for the audience.
Oh, but what if Jesse shares that story later on? I
Oh, that's
yeah,
true.
You don't want to
and
contradict. You don't want to contradict.
there might be some more coverage there, but yeah,
Okay.
no,
Fair.
we did bump into each other at Gen Con, but that was not our first conversation together, so
Nice.
Nice.
it was
Uh,
accidental.
Yeah.
and then I also
Which
I got to hang out in person with the one and only Sam Barmettler, creator of Outrun the Bear.
No, I got to hang out in person with you, and you introduced me to like everyone who's ever designed a game ever. So, and that was great.
have you met so and so? Have you met so
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so?
yeah. That's kind of what I do sometimes when I am at places. I'm like, hey, this is so and so. This is so and so. It was fun. We didn't hang out
Fantastic.
as long as I would have liked, but it was an awfully good pleasure to actually meet.
Couple-minute meet and greet because I was trying to find you all convention long, but every time I went by, you were pitching games.
That's true. That's true. I did a lot of game pitch.
Can't
Become a
stop the
designer.
hustle.
Start working when you're supposed to be having fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I know. I was like, man, I'd really like to do that first exposure playtest hall, but I don't know how I'm going to fit it in my schedule. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen.
That's awesome. So
All right.
for first time designers out there, Sam, on a scale from 0 to you must go, where would you put Gen Con?
Top of the list.
Hmm.
Specifically the first exposure hall. Right,
Yeah.
let me pull this over here so I'm not looking off to the side until we're playing. Yeah, no, what they do there, the way they organize it, that was the best playtesting I've ever had. Specifically with wide variety playtesting.
Yeah.
And actually, something that I'd recommend for everyone who comes onto the show, your guys' feedback that I got a couple weeks ago became so much more clear and understandable in how to fix it when I play tested again with the broader audience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that in all my future games I'm going to try to do. Play test with experienced designers, then take that information and go play test that same version or close to it with your wider audience.
Right.
And then you have that in the back of your mind and you're seeing, oh, this is how they're interacting, this is how that changes, and then you're able to make the implementation.
Awesome.
And for the first time in its process, I've really felt like my game's like good.
Yeah. Nice. That's
Don't want to touch too much more, just a little bit of balancing tweaks. So,
That's great,
cool.
man.
yeah. And
Sam,
you do that, you get the most out of this.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a good way because people ask about like filtering feedback, right?
Right.
Like, how do you filter it? Right.
Mhm.
Especially like from designers. Because like designers will have lots of ideas.
Mhm.
And part of that is informed by experience, part of that's informed by preference.
Yeah.
And a designer doesn't necessarily always know the goals for your game, right? So sometimes their feedback isn't in line with goals that you have, or with the target audience that you have, right? So
Yeah.
what I love to try to alternate. Like when I get designer feedback, I like to take it to what I call average people, right? Like just the target audience and play with a couple people and test like, oh, you know, that was a really great idea, but the complexity of it is just too high for what I'm shooting for. Or, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but like that it doesn't get the same reaction, as favorable a reaction as, you know, I would expect, right? So that's a very good thing to think about is what you can do to filter feedback, and part of that is like being sure that you're testing with your target audience.
Yeah. Right. Like, yeah, designers for the most part have their own bias, but they're going to give you some insights that you won't get from your target audience.
Absolutely.
Right. And so it kind of
Absolutely.
takes all, there's like three pillars, right? There's designer feedback, target audience, and then your vision. Right. And you have to make sure to listen to all three of those things, and you can't listen to any just one of them and do exactly what they say, because that's not going to be the right game. You know, it's your vision plus some really insightful, you know, feedback from people in the industry, and then your target audience, right? The people that are going to want to buy it at the end of the day. right? Because those designers probably aren't the ones buying it. It's going to be your target audience. So
Yeah.
yeah, all those things are important. Make sure to double check all changes and feedback that it actually works with your target audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, should we get into the teach?
Yes, sir.
Sweet.
I'm timing you. No pressure. Go ahead.
Oh, are you timing me?
I
Really?
always do.
So, a little background on this game. Sam asked about this in the pre-show as we were kind of chatting, but this is New Kingdom Gardeners, and the development of this game has taken an interesting turn. I started off with a game called New Kingdom, and New Kingdom became the focus of my company rather than of the games, right? So, kind of expanded on that idea and broke the game New Kingdom into several different games with different mechanics of different weights, slightly different settings and different themes within a broader universe, right? So, I think of like some other some other companies have done things like this, but like Rock Manor Games, I think, is one that's multiple games and it's like sort of the same IP. So
Yeah.
Gardeners is the one that I'm kind of taking and running with, and I've been doing that since the beginning of 2022. Um,
Is that because it was your first idea, or because it was your less complex idea, or why did you pick this one?
for a number of reasons. One, slightly less complexity than some other ideas. Like I have a game in development, New Kingdom Builders, which is a different concept and just it takes a similar base of tableau building, but takes it a completely different direction with some cool economics behind it that
Cool.
kind of level up that play experience.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, one is complexity, and two is size, right? Like just the component spread for this game is much simpler, easier to publish and manufacture, right?
Yes.
So there's just a lot that I could do with it in development that I couldn't do with builders right away,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that was one factor, and then the other factor was just the happening upon the artist for this game, Melissa Murakami,
Mhm.
who does amazing art and has been an incredible partner. But Melissa really kind of inspired me with this retheme for gardeners. There was a kind of a co-labor to retheme it from a very generic sort of theme to what it is now. And her art has really kind of driven along the development process for me. It's gotten me more excited about the game, and she was commissionable at at the level that this game is produced at. So
Right.
that's what I'll say.
There are a
Yeah.
range of budgets.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the design decisions. But Sam
Cool.
asked me, I thought you're going to Kickstarter this fall, and I thought I
Oh
was
yeah.
too. And I started down the path of saying like, okay, let's take the marketing seriously, let's push this. And I realized, one, there's a lot more steps to that, but two, I wanted to just get more time behind my organic marketing and also a little bit more time behind development, especially things like stretch goals to put together a really solid pitch for a crowd-funded program
Yeah.
or a crowd-funded product. So that really was kind of what motivated me, to sort of push the date out.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful just to hear sometimes. Like you might think you're at a certain place in a project and think like, oh, there's no going back. Like I thought, okay, I set a date, but then I realized, so I mean, just push the date out.
Right.
Let's make sure we get put out good stuff and not
Right.
just stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, if there's 30 people waiting for that date, right?
Yeah,
Fine, push it.
yeah,
If there's 3,000 people waiting for that date, maybe that's a slightly different thing. But even then, if it's not ready, or it's it's going to hurt your campaign to half-ass a thing, you got to push it.
for sure.
People
Absolutely.
understand.
And unlike video games that do it all the time, we don't get to fix it once it's on their tables.
Right.
Right. There's no patches.
Yeah, shipping that one card,
Yeah.
update is going to take away all of your profits for the whole campaign.
Yeah.
So
What?
don't do it.
Here's your patch.
Right.
A
Ooh.
sticker set.
Yeah.
Just cover up all the bad icons. Um,
$1.13. $1.13.
so here's
$1.13. Dang it.
so here's the story for the game. Are you guys
Yep.
ready to play?
I'm ready.
Okay. So New Kingdom gardeners, we all are playing as gardeners, and I'll play here in this spot over here so I can show sort of what's going on. Evan, if you want to show the teach off from this direction. But we are gardeners, and gardeners are followers of this divine creator called the Master Gardener. And the legend is the Master Gardener created everything. And initially, when the world was bare, he planted all of these seeds that bore delicious fruit, and he created people to share that fruit with him. And from those people, he chose certain ones of them to be gardeners. And gardeners are those individuals who are trusted to carry on his work of planting seeds around the world to bear fruit to share with the people of the world. Now, there are all kinds of people, and we'll encounter those people as we play. There are people with all kinds of different skills, and as we play the game, we'll appoint those workers to our garden, and they'll happily help gardeners to carry on the master's work of planting seeds all over the face of the earth to create more fruit for the people to share. And here are some examples of seeds that you might plant in your garden. Now, the gardeners were doing such a good job of this. The master gardener kind of stepped away and let the gardeners take over. And in that, some of those gardeners got lazy or negligent, and they allowed thorns to start to creep into the gardens of the world. And thorns started to kind of mess up the gardens, consume fruit, push around the seeds, and cause sort of havoc on the earth. So as gardeners kind of started to walk away and doubt that the master gardener was really good or like coming back or anything like that, these gardens got out of control and thorns started to sprout. So now the work of faithful gardeners who still follow the master's ways are to prune thorns and plant seeds and appoint workers to their gardens to help them in that effort. And the reason is there is this prophecy that at the end of time, the master gardener is going to come back and establish a new kingdom where there are no thorns. They're just abundant seeds with workers to work the ground and share in the fruit. And that's symbolized by this card being in the bottom of the deck. So when the Master Gardener card is drawn, he will arrive, and that will initiate the end game. At the end game, whoever has produced the most fruit among the gardeners will get selected by the Master Gardener to be the head gardener in the new kingdom and lead all of the other gardeners in this sort of revolution against the thorns of the world. So that's what we are competing for, is the honor to be head gardener. And the way that we will earn that honor is by having a garden that produces the most fruit when this card is drawn from the deck. Okay, so that's kind of the overview and objective. Any question about that?
So in this current example, are you producing 0 fruit because you've got +2,
Yes.
+1, and -3?
Exactly. So
Okay, cool.
a really key concept in this game is that victory points are currency, right? So throughout the game, you may spend fruit or earn fruit, and that goes up and down. And fruit is both the currency that you spend to accomplish things and also points at the end of the game. So if the Master Gardener is drawn here, and this is the end of the game, you can see that this seed, exactly what Evan said, that has 1 fruit, this seed is worth 2 fruit, and this thorn is -3, right? So these all cancel each other out in the seed row, this top row, which is dedicated just to thorns and seeds. Now, the bottom row is dedicated to workers, and the workers all have a fruit value as well. So these all produce 1 fruit. So while this is 0, your bottom row has 3 points. So if this were the end of the game, Master Gardener is shown, this player right here would have 3 points. Okay. Now, there's another way that you can acquire fruit. You can harvest fruit as the game is played. When you do, yellow fruit are worth 1 and purple fruit are worth 5. Those can be exchanged at any time. So if you have 5 of these yellow fruit, you can exchange them for 1 purple fruit. So in this case, now you would have 9 points because you would have 6 points here in harvested fruit plus these 3 and then 0 up here because these cancel each other out. Okay. So that's the score. Another key concept of this game is that the rows of your garden, or the tableau that you're building into, is called a garden. It has 2 rows. The top row consists of a gardener plus 3 spots for seeds and thorns. The bottom row consists entirely of workers. So each row has 4 spots. The top row, the first spot is occupied by the gardener. The next 3 spots are occupied by seeds and thorns. In the bottom row, these 4 spots are all available for workers. And you always play workers of different types in these rows. Now, you'll notice that these two workers are the same type. You can see the icon on them as a little heart, and the name is assistant. So both of these are assistant type workers. When you have workers of the same type, you stack them on top of each other, and there's a little set collection mechanism that rewards you for creating teams of workers. If you look at the player aid here, you can see a breakdown of what those rewards are like. But basically, there are 7 types of workers, 4 of each in the deck. If you manage to make a team of 2, you immediately get 2 fruit. So you would just pull 2 fruit out of the bag and add them to your supply. If you stack 3 workers, you get 3 fruit, or you can get a dove, and I'll talk about what doves do. And then if you stack 4 workers, you can get 4 fruit or 1 dove. Now, since I mentioned them, I'll talk about doves. You'll notice that seeds and thorns are just kind of points, right? But gardeners and workers have this special ability text on them. And each of your workers and your gardener have something that they can do. And that's activated by doves in your garden. When you play a card into your garden, you don't immediately do the action. You only do the action if you place a dove on that worker. So, for instance, if you look at, say, this worker right here, she is a reaper. She allows you to discard seeds from either your garden or your hand to collect its fruit. So if I place a dove on her, I could discard this seed and I could collect 1 fruit from the supply. Okay. And that would essentially allow me to bank those points for the future. Now, all of your workers have abilities like this that will help you out throughout the game. And by building a strong engine of workers, you can do a lot in your garden, right? Any questions about any of that?
Is there a significance to this worker being on this card versus the other ones that are off to the right?
That's a great question. There's no significance to that. Yeah, that doesn't matter. That's just how the playmat is designed, and we can talk about that.
Okay.
Sure. But yeah, so there's no significance to this first spot. It's just the first spot for a worker. There is significance to this spot, and that's occupied by your gardener specifically. Okay, there's one other type of card in the game that I haven't talked about, and those are miracles. Miracles are the workings of the master gardener. So the master may seem like he's distant, but he's really not. He's still actively involved in the gardens of the world, and occasionally things will happen that impact the gardens of the world. So if you draw a miracle from the deck, it is instantly played, and it is planted into a garden with certain conditions. So if you look at this one, Mercy, this particular miracle is planted immediately into the garden, which has the least figs, which are these harvested fruit over here. So if I have, 7, and then Sam over here has 1, he would get this miracle regardless of who draws it. So if I draw this, I immediately plant it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now he can choose whether he wants to plant it in the seed row or he wants to plant it in the worker row. And the reason that's important is because the worker row is fixed. Anything that's placed here in the worker row, any of these workers, if they're appointed, they stay put. But anything that's planted in the seed row is always planted to the right of the gardener. The gardener is the one doing the planting. But if your garden is full, it initiates a creep because of the thorns. They kind of push out seeds, remember? So if you place a miracle in a garden, it actually pushes the last card from your top row into the next garden over. Okay. Now, imagine we had, a whole slew of cards all the way around. This could continue on and on. If I plant a card here, it could push to Evan. This would push over to Sam. These would push here. Now, if we end up in a situation where we have completely full gardens, and this player doesn't count because there is no player there. If I were to draw a card and plant it here, it would push out of Evan's garden, and we would, fill up all of these gardens here. What would happen to this card is it would be discarded. It would just go into the discard.
You can't push cards back around to.
No, not with. The rule is you can receive 1 card per action. Okay, so that could happen multiple times on a turn, but per action. So if you plant a single card, you can't receive more than 1 card in your garden.
Oh, so the first one that comes around would go.
Yep. But since you initiated the plant, since I was planting here, if one pushes out of your garden, that one would be discarded because I've already received a card in my garden. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think that's it for card types. Remember, workers in the bottom row, seeds and thorns in the top row. If you have workers of the same type, they stack. And miracles can be placed in the top or the bottom.
So you went over why you would place them in the top or not place them in the top, but is there any reason why you would place them in the bottom?
Essentially to save them, to keep them from being pushed
Okay.
out. Because the other thing that's nice is, remember, points are currency, right? So you can spend this miracle, and you might be thinking, well, we haven't talked about any way to spend fruit at all yet. The primary way, and the only way really that you spend fruit, is to prune thorns. Now, to prune a thorn, thorns are worth -3 fruit at the end of the game. But if you choose to prune it, you can pay 2 fruit. And you can do that from cards in your hand, cards in your garden, or fruit that you've harvested. So if I want to get rid of this thorn from my garden, what I would do is I would discard it and I would pay 2 fruit. I could pay 2 fruit from this miracle. I could pay, say, a worker and 1 yellow fruit. Any event, I end up getting rid of those negative points. Now, here's another key concept about the game that's really important. Doing things for yourself is good. Doing things for your neighbor is even better. So if you, Sam, have a thorn in your garden and I prune it for you, those points don't just go away. I actually tuck that thorn behind my gardener, and that counts as 3 points at the end of the game for me. So I'm paying 2 now for 3 points later, and it gets it out of your garden. Similarly, if you have a worker in your garden, I can appoint a worker from my hand to your garden. Now, why would you do that? Well, you get a bonus, right, for stacking workers in teams. But if you do it for others, you get a higher bonus. So if I stack 2 workers in my own garden, I get 2 fruit. If I stack 2 workers in your garden, I get 4 fruit. Right? So it's more advantageous for me to work for the benefit of my neighbor than for myself. Okay. Let's see. Some of the gardeners, which we'll talk about as we go, but some of the gardeners have passive abilities and some of them have abilities that require doves. Here's an example of a worker or of a gardener that does not require doves. She can place doves on workers with doves on them. Now, one of the benefits of having teams of workers is that you have more places to put your doves. So here I have 1 monk, so I can put 1 dove there. But here I have 2 monks in a team, or 2 assistants in a team, so I could place 2 doves there. I could place 1 dove on the first guy and 1 dove on the second guy. Abbess Facinia has the ability to break that rule. So as a gardener, she can place doves on workers that already have doves on them.
Any number of times.
Yeah.
Up
Now,
to.
yeah, some gardeners have abilities like that that are passive, right? They're always active. Some gardeners require you to place doves on them. And one example could be this, Sir Practicus. Sir Practicus is a gardener who can take an additional plant action if you place a dove on him. So you can place a dove on Sir Practicus to plant a seed in your garden. So now you've seen kind of all the card types. We've talked about key concepts, right? The top row moves, the bottom row doesn't. Points are currency. Pruning is exchanging fruit for gardening, and stacking teams of workers. And the fact that helping your neighbor is more beneficial than helping yourself. The last thing that we need to talk about is what you actually do on your turn. So that's where we'll end the teach and where we'll start playing. So if you look at your player aid, this summarizes what you do on your turn. A turn has 2 steps. You place your doves and you draw a card. That's it. You place doves on workers to use their abilities, or gardeners to use their abilities. And you can place 1 dove once per turn to take one of 4 gardening actions. And those are listed on your player aid here. Those actions are pray, which is drawing 2 cards off of the deck to add to your hand. Plant, which is placing a seed in a garden. Now, mind you, this can be any garden. You can plant a seed in your garden. You can plant a seed in your neighbor's garden, anywhere. Number 3 is appointing a worker, which can be done in your garden or another's garden. And then number 4 is pruning, which is that transaction I talked about where you pay 2 fruit to discard a thorn, whether it's in your garden or in a neighbor's garden. So you place all your doves on workers or gardeners to use their abilities, or on a gardener once per turn to use one of those 4 gardening actions. Then, at the end of your turn, after you've placed your doves, you draw a card and you recall your doves for the next turn. And this is important because remember, the Master Gardener is at the bottom of this deck. And as you draw cards, his arrival is becoming more imminent. And we're getting closer to the end of the game with every draw of the card. He'll be in the last 10 cards of the deck. We're not sure exactly where, but it will be in those last 10. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes. And I will ask it momentarily. Okay. It says here, when you prune from another's garden, you get fruit at harvest.
Mm-hmm.
However, on here it says collect 2 fruit if pruned from another's garden. How do those two things interact?
Oh, typo. Yeah, the thorns actually have a pretty major typo on them in this iteration. It's pay 2 fruit to prune, but there were 3 at the end. So that was something that I actually just updated these this week with
So you're
Melissa,
not
and she went on
gaining
vacation.
you're not gaining fruit when you prune them. You're getting that at the end of the two
At the end.
when you do it.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you actually, what you do is you collect the thorn. You would place the thorn behind your gardener and save it for the harvest. Cool. Yep.
Wow.
Okay. Evan's least favorite thing in the world is blind drafting.
Oh, perfect. Do I get to blind draft?
No, you don't. I'm actually going to do this. So in a first time game with 3 players, I suggest that you start with 3 gardeners. You start with Sister Prudence, you start with Brother Aventus, and you start with Sir Practicus.
Oh.
And the reason you would start with these is these are very basic gardeners. They essentially allow you to take one of those basic gardening actions twice, right? So you can take any one of these 4, pray, plant, appoint, or prune. But Practicus allows you to plant, Aventus allows you to prune, and Prudence allows you to pray. So you could potentially do one of those actions twice, or you could, if you're Prudence, you always have the option to pray in addition to whatever else you want to do.
So every gardener lets you place a dove to do one of the 4 things.
Yep.
This gardener lets you do another dove pray.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got it. Sam, you have any questions?
No. I do wonder if you offer lessons on teaching a game on Tabletop Simulator, but that was very smooth.
Awesome. Thanks, man. It's the story. You got to lead with the story.
Okay. Actually, no, I did have one question.
Sure.
So paying to remove thorns.
Yes.
And when these fruit are collected, can you pay with the fruit off to the side? And 2, the fruit that you have here on the side of your board, that only counts towards victory points at the end of the game?
Nope. All fruit is currency as well. So this can be spent to prune.
Okay.
Yeah. So this stuff can be spent to prune, and also it counts as points at the end of the game.
Okay.
The same is true of cards in your hand. Cards in your hand can be spent, but that is the one exception is at the end of the game, any cards in your hand will be discarded. So it behooves you to play them or use them or spend them.
Okay. So we can spend the cards here. We're not going to be taking fruit out of the bag when we play those cards here, though, right?
Nope. Yeah, the fruit is on the card, right?
Yep.
So like this guy, he's just worth 1 fruit.
Yep.
Sweet. Oh, whoops. I gathered up the gardeners absentmindedly.
I don't do that.
Yeah. Practicus, Aventus, and then
Gardener.
Sister Prudence. Here we go. And what I'm going to do here is just shuffle these up, and I'm just going to deal. I'm just going to hand them out. So we'll see who is who. I am starting as a Ventus, so I have the ability to prune. And
do
then
you have a max hand size?
Yeah, max hand size is 8.
Okay.
And then go ahead and draw 5 cards off of the main deck. Okay, I'll draw 5 cards. And then in a 3-player game, I'm going to remove 20 cards from the deck here. Then we're going to cut, and we're going to put the Master Gardener in the bottom 9 cards. We'll put the Miracles in the top cards. Put those 2 side decks together, and that's our draw pile. And then the way that we start play is each player has 1 gardener, 2 doves, 3 fruit to start. Okay, so we're all on even ground there. But to start the game, play all of the thorns from your hand. So any thorns you have, go ahead and play those into your garden right away.
I have another.
Okay, so 2, 2, and 1. Okay, so you two, which of you last watered a plant?
Probably Evan.
Okay. Yeah, I think I did it like.
Oh, it was definitely Evan. My job involves me killing plants, not
Oh,
watering.
okay, perfect.
Nice. All right, so Evan, you get to be first player. So
Yes.
whoever has the most thorns typically goes first, but the tiebreaker for that is whoever watered a plant last.
Fair, fair, fair. I'm gonna
All
place
right.
a dove and do a thing. Draw 2 cards. Seed. Worker.
Ooh, okay. One thing I want to remind you of is miracle cards and thorn cards are instant play cards. If you draw those, you play them instantly. Seeds and workers, on the other hand, which is what your hand should be made up of right now, seeds and workers are played from your hand. So thorns and miracles are always played immediately, as it says on the card text.
Okay, cool. So I am gonna do my generic gardener action of the point. And I'm going. Oh,
Nice. Okay.
got it?
Yeah, so you appoint a grower. You still have a dove here. So
Oh, I'm gonna do both my doves.
yeah, you could use that. You could place a second one since you used an appoint action on Sir Practicus there. You could use your second dove to plant a seed from your hand. Yeah. Nice.
Bumbaloo.
Yep. And I'll push those over. So you've placed all of your doves now. So that moves you on to the second step of your turn.
Draw 2 cards. Oh, draw a card and
Yep.
That is.
Perfecto. Sweet. Okay. And then
Oops,
in
I
this
drew 2
game,
cards.
the direction of movement is to the right. So after Evan will be me, which follows the creep. It goes counterclockwise rather than clockwise. So I'm going to go next. I am going to do this. Since I am Brother of Ventus, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a gardening action to appoint a manager to my garden. And then I am going to place my second dove on a Ventus to prune. and I'm going to use this 2-point seed from a hand. I'm going to discard that, and I'm going to prune this little thorn from Evan's garden, and I'm going to tuck it behind my gardener for 3 points at the end. I'm going to recall my doves, and I'm going to draw a card, and then it's Sam's turn.
So if I've got this right, I put this dove here to draw 2 cards.
Yep. Well, yeah, if you want to take a prey action. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't count as the one action that I do, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Because her ability, so you're using her special ability,
Yeah.
is what you're doing. Yeah.
And then I have to play any thorns that I drew immediately, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And the different thorns are just named differently, right?
Yeah, it's just the seeds and the thorns, it's flavor.
Okay.
Ultimately.
And then placing the second one, I can use that to play a seed or to do a seed, and then I can take sorry. And then I can take the action.
Yep. Yeah, so you could use your second dove to take a plant action, which would be playing a seed into your garden.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that on the reference card?
So if you look at on your turn on the front side, in the middle it says gardening actions.
Oh.
The second one is plant, which is place a seed in any garden.
Okay. Got it. No, I understand. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are your standard actions that you can take. You can choose one of those every turn. And then you also have the ability to pray because you have a gardener that specializes in that.
And let's go. Okay. So that would put this here.
Yeah, and that pushes over this thorn into Evan's garden, and that would go there. Yep.
Of a biscuit.
Hey, what can you do? They're creeping.
And then and then I can take an action, right?
No, that was your action. So that was your second dove.
Okay.
That was your action. Yeah. Placing doves.
Now now I've got
doves equal actions. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Did you recall
Sam
doves and
needs
draw
to
a
draw a card.
And then recall my doves.
Yep.
So do you Jack, do you think Sam is going to be able to double my score in this game?
I don't know. We'll see.
I'll sure try.
Is it possible? It is possible. Yeah. You could double another player's score. I've seen it, but it is rare. You're up, Evan.
Whoa. There you are.
Ah, nice.
I'm going to plant that sucker. And then I'm going to prune this bad boy.
Sweet.
And that cost me, and that'll cost me 2 fruits.
Yep.
Yeah. Whoa, you can't. Cool. That was both doves. So I draw a card and I'm done.
Yep. Beautiful, Evan. All right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to appoint a trader. Now, a trader allows me to swap a card from my hand, blind card, with a card in another's hand and hold, plant, or appoint it. So I'm going to swap this card here with one of Sam's cards. I think I'll snake that one. Okay. Ooh, nice. It's assistant. So I'll immediately plant this assistant. So I appointed the trader and then I used her ability. So those were my 2 doves. I'll draw a card. and it's a thorn. So that's going to go directly into my garden, and it's Sam's turn
Okay.
as I recall my doves.
So play this, the prey, drawing 2 cards. Then second dove to appoint this trader.
Very cool.
Is there anything exciting happening in the chat?
Ooh, good question.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
That's fair.
Yeah, just
So
us.
far we have Jack tracking time.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Sam, did you draw a card?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Okay. So I am.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
I drew a miracle before. That was supposed to be played immediately.
Oh, okay. Play it. Play it now.
oh yeah, do that.
In the garden with the least figs, which would be
Ooh,
Evan's.
thank
Evan.
you.
Okay, so Evan, you get to decide where that goes. Do you want to put it in your bottom row or your top row?
That's gonna go in my top row.
Sweet.
There it is.
And that's
There
going
you.
to push me to have 3 thorns in my garden.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, now it's my turn. I am going to put out a worker. Oh, does it always bump? Or does it
What's that?
matter?
No,
do the workers bump?
workers can go. No, they just stay
Okay.
put.
But when you
can,
put it
you
next,
can move them around though.
when you put it next to your gardener, it's always bump.
Yes, top row is always moves to the right. Bottom row is fixed.
Then I am going to use my monk to prune this bad.
Oh, from Sam. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
What you get?
Lucky.
All right, that's it.
You guys really are better friends, huh?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to like rub it in your face,
It's cool.
but like, but
no,
it's definitely true. Definitely
No, we'll move on.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, don't look at me. Turn the stream off, Evan. I need a minute. I'm gonna appoint a monk to your garden, Evan. And
Oh.
when I do that, I'm gonna earn 4 fruit. Whoop, whoop. So I'm gonna take a 5er and I'm gonna get rid of a 1.
Wow.
And that's great. So yeah, now I have
4 fruit for that. That was.
So now I'm gonna do.
Oh, you know what I didn't
else.
do when I pruned? I didn't pay the cost.
Oh, yep, gotta pay.
So
didn't you pay yellow fruit? Oh no,
not that time.
Before. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Wisdom will pay for it.
Yep.
So got rid of your wisdom.
I
okay,
wisely pruned.
Yeah. I am gonna place. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna prune. I'm gonna use these two fruit here, and I'm gonna take this chance to prune this thorn from your garden, Evan.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I'll take back my doves and draw a card, and it's Sam's turn.
Take this prey action again.
Okay.
And got another miracle. And,
okay.
Plant immediately in your garden.
Ooh, there you go. Provision. Nice.
Uh-oh.
Now, is there an order to which these should have happened?
Yes. So Joy was already there. This would push that, and then this would be after that. So technically, you draw cards one at a time and play them if they apply.
I don't know. Oh, it's right there. I found it.
Yeah. So you would play cards in draw order is the way to say it.
And then with my other dove, let me You know what? Let me use this trader action. And with Jack, like he did to me.
Okay, sweet. So you give me that card, and I will give you my one card. Yeah. And now you can hold that, plant it, or appoint it, depending on what it is, if you want,
Oh, okay.
as part of that same action.
All right. Let's see what it does. Okay. I'll throw this out here.
Nice. One thing to keep in mind with your workers too, as you know, Evan and I are both getting to a point where we might fill up this row.
Mhm.
If at any time you have a full worker row, you can dismiss workers to appoint new workers in your bottom row. So if I have a worker I really like and I have 4 spots here, I can dismiss this trader, just discard her and play a new card there.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
So
Did Sam draw his card?
Yeah.
I think so.
Nice.
So if I have 2 monks, does that affect me in any way?
Yeah, so you have the ability to use their ability twice. So you can place 2 doves there and take 2 of those actions. You also have 2 points at the end of the game because each of them counts as 1 fruit.
Those are my fruits, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you know, theoretically have the opportunity, if you have 4 teams of 4, to have 16 points in workers at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am gonna swap a card from hand
Nice.
with you, and then I will obviously,
Very good.
and then I'm gonna boon.
Ooh. Very nice. All right. Well, that's cool. I am gonna on my turn. Well, you need to draw a card.
Yeah, I
then
got
I'll- Yeah.
Yep. So how many cards were in the deck total?
There were about 30. There were 29 cards to start.
So we are now in the second half, which means
The master is in the last 10 cards of the deck.
the
So we
master's
still
in the
have,
last 10. Okay.
yeah, we still have a couple turns depending on what Sam does. So
Okay.
I am gonna go ahead and I have 2 doves here. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to place a dove on my assistant. Now,
Mhm.
assistants allow you to either rearrange your garden, so I could, move these around, or they allow you to send an appointed worker to another garden. So I'm going to send my trader to Sam,
Oh,
and I'm going to
wow.
earn 4 fruit for doing that.
What? What?
So I'm going to do that, use my assistant. Then I'm going to use Brother of Ventus, and I'm going to prune one of these from my own garden. And it'll cost me 2.
Mm.
Oh, whoops, sorry. I'm gonna use 1 from my hand, and then 1 from over here. And then I'll draw a card, and it's Sam's turn. Oh, it's a miracle. Forgiveness goes to the player with the most thorns. That's me.
Hey.
I'll put it there.
There you go. Nice.
All right. Well, I'm in a pickle here, but I'm going to double down on this strategy, even though I think it's going to lose me everything.
Lose everything.
Thorn goes down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then So I use the dove to play a Reaper.
Okay, sweet.
Reba.
Nice. Okay. So that was your 2 actions, and you draw a card.
Hmm.
Oh, and it's a thorn.
Oh man. All right. Joy is out of there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Evan.
Yep. Okay, so we're getting down here. We don't know when old so and so is going to show up. So
Yep.
I give Jack the gift of honesty.
Oh. Nice.
And then I reap what Sam sowed.
Wow, Sam.
And,
Poor guy.
and then, of course, I'm going to prune one. Oh. Yep.
Very nice. Yeah, the snap points are kind of weird. You have little dove sandwiches every once in a while.
Yeah, they're a little funkatron.
You get a little funky stuff going on there. Okay.
All right. And I
Okay.
don't think I paid for the pruning. Oh,
Yep.
I think I've been hustled.
You've been hustled, man. It's okay. So here's the deal, Sam. I have no cards in my hand, so I am gonna draw. So in this weird edge case where you start with no cards,
Okay.
you have the option to pray at the beginning of your turn as a bonus action.
What?
I'm gonna go ahead and take that option. I'm gonna draw. That brings out the Master Gardener. Now, play will continue until it returns to Evan, so that everybody has the same amount of turns. So I'll play, and you still get a turn here. So,
Okay.
Master Gardener is here. I'm gonna go ahead and prune for you, and I'm gonna prune for me.
Nice.
Let's clean this place up. Oh, whoops! The one for me should be discarded. The one from you, I
Did
get
you
to keep.
pay for those?
So I paid using endurance from my hand, and then I'm going to pay using. Get rid of that miracle.
Get rid of
And then I'll draw a card to end my turn, and it's on to you, Sam, for the last turn of the game.
Yep.
How come I don't get an extra turn? Because I started.
You started.
Ugh, I think I'm gonna lose. I didn't collect any figgies.
Well, we'll see. You did a whole lot of
You've got
pruning.
12
so
down here.
Oh, I forgot about all the pruning. I did.
Whole lot of
So
pruning.
Whole
I'm
lot of
gonna
pruning.
place on my
Well, you
Reaper.
pruned a bunch too.
That'll give me 2.
Yeah, there you go. Cash those in.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Stop.
You want a tip, Sam?
I think I know that I have to prune.
I was gonna say you might be able to use your Fisher to pull a worker that you could make a 3-stack somewhere, but you actually can't. There are no workers in the discard, unfortunately. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just gonna prune.
Yeah. Wise choice, my friend. 2 cards. Get rid of that.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of the game. So what we would do is discard all the cards in your hand. So any cards in your hand, discard those. Then after cards are discarded from your hand, you would pay for thorns in your garden. But there are no thorns in our garden, so we don't have to pay there. Then what I suggest is fan out all of your workers so that you can count them easily so you don't miss stacks. And then you would count the points in your garden, points in your fruit, and that's your total score. Oh, and also your pruned thorns, of course. Those each
3
count for
points
3 positive
each.
points. So let's see. 16,
Evan doubled my score.
Yeah, it had to happen once in a while. It had to happen.
8, 9, 10, plus 11. Sam, what'd you get?
9.
9.
I think I got 20.
Is that right, Evan?
Yeah, you beat me by 1 point.
Oh man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have 4 times 3, 7 plus 12 is 19 plus 1, 20. Yeah, there you go.
Son of
2021 to
a gun.
Sam with 9 points.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Sam. And that's a game.
Cool.
Yeah, what was our playtime there? Under 30 minutes.
Playtime was 24. That's
Yeah. So the way that the game is set up, it's structured to play under 30 minutes. Now, because the tableau building is one of the fun parts of the game and getting those interactions and engines going, you can play an extended play variant that's over 30 minutes if you're up for it and you want to do that by just playing more of these cards into the deck.
Okay.
So you could add more cards. I just take away, in a 2-player game, you take away 30 cards at the beginning. In a 3-player game, you take away 20. And in a 4-player game, you take away 10. And that kind of standardizes playtime to under 30 minutes, regardless of your player count.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to handle it. Keep the short as the base and optional longer.
Yeah, if people want to play a little bit longer and see what they can do with their engines, or, you know, how many 4 stacks they can get, how many doves they can collect.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. That's
all right.
That's the game.
Cool. You want me to go first, or you want Sam to go first?
Totally up to you guys.
Sam, what do you
I'll
feel?
soften things up after Evan.
Okay. I'll go first.
Let's hear it, Evan.
Well, what I want to know before I go is, what did I say last time? And what did you either do or not do with respect to what I said? Because I don't remember. Other than the doves. Use the doves, man.
Yeah, play the doves. Yeah, so one thing was so Chris Stone, he listened to this, he saw this talk that by some game designer who's talking about actions. He said, with actions, you should either give people one choice, you should give people 2 choices, or you should give people as many choices as they want. Before, I kind of had a structure where you had pretty much 3 choices, and it was a little bit overwhelming with AP and stuff like that. So I simplified it to just, you have 2 doves, you essentially do 2 things. So that was one piece that's been updated, semi recently. The other is exchanging points for points. That was something that was fiddly before.
Yeah.
Where, I used to have it where you prune and then you get points back. You earn fruit you pay fruit, you get rid of a thorn, and then you get fruit. And I took that away entirely with like tucking them for later, or just discarding them if they're in your own. The other thing was asymmetric bonuses was a suggestion where you do things for yourself, it's good. You do things for others, it's better. That and tiered points was something, because I used to have it where you stack workers, you just get 2 is 2 points, 3 is 3 points, 4 is 4 points. And I've added a little bit more layering to that to offset the balance a little bit. And it's kind of tightened up end game scoring, but also made those decisions more interesting, because you get, those bigger jumps, and it incentivizes actions a little bit more. So those were some recent changes.
So I don't remember what I told you last time, other than focus on the doves. So, which I still. Why did you decide to have people take all of their actions instead of one at a time?
Do you mean
like place a dove next turn, place a dove next turn, place a dove? It's like, why are we placing both doves instead of just one at a time?
Oh, I see what you mean. Because of card draw, it standardizes game length It allows for, because if you do one action at a time,
Uh-huh.
it's not enough to get an engine going before the end game is initiated.
Why is
Uh,
that? Why would
because
the end game come earlier if you split up your actions?
so if you take one action and then draw a card on your turn, is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
no, I wouldn't add it. I wouldn't add an extra card draw.
Mm. So what
Did,
do you mean? You mean
was
placing?
it a decision to do two actions versus one action, and was there a reason for that decision?
Uh, so like, why
On
do
your
you
turn?
place two doves instead of one dove? Is
Yeah,
that what you mean?
yeah.
Because if you draw a card, what would you? How would you envision that going? You play one
Oh, if you
dove and
wanted
then
to
you,
keep the card draw the same, oh, then on
yeah,
your turn you have two options: you place a dove, or you gather all doves and draw a card.
yeah, you could. I mean, you could do that. I haven't tried that. Um,
But there might be a reason why you want a player's turn to include taking two actions, right?
yeah,
So that's kind of
the
what I'm curious about.
yeah, I think the primary thing is just um one I don't know, it feels right to have two things that you can do,
Yeah.
and that's actually been whittled down from like four at one point to
Right.
now you have two actions, but it works on balance generally to come up with outcomes like this where I
Mm-hmm.
mean there's kind of a point spread between Sam and you,
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, it generally works out to take one action or to take two actions on a turn
Mm-hmm.
versus uh other
Yeah.
numbers of actions.
'Cause that
um
was.
I think part of it is like the intuition for me
Mm-hmm.
is the feel good of the game from my perspective is uh building out a garden and
Mm-hmm.
having all of these workers and being able to do things with them.
Mm-hmm.
The more of that you can do, I think it just feels more satisfying on your turn,
Yeah.
and also keeps this from feeling like a completely defeating feel bad to draw thorns,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you have one action and your action was pruning and you prune and then you immediately draw a thorn, well, that's just a total waste of an action, right? Versus if
Mm-hmm.
I prune this and, also I appoint a worker,
Yeah.
but then I draw a thorn, it's like, man, I wasted that prune action, but I'm still moving my engine forward and I have
Mm-hmm.
more things I can do on my next
Mm-hmm.
turn. So there's that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. My initial thought was just have it be place a dove, or if you're out of doves, collect all your doves and draw a card.
Mm.
But I'm actually not convinced that is better. Maybe two actions is better. The only reason it might run into issues is you know like what's your top end player count?
Four.
Or it's probably not going to cause an issue. It might be good as is. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Playtime less than 30 minutes. That's great. Uh, it's really funny. The thing that Sam liked the most about your teach was the thing that I was like, okay, let's get to the how do I play the game? I was like, I don't need your story. I don't care. How do I play the game?
Yeah.
So it's a funny dichotomy of
Nice.
different playtesters are gonna want different things out of your team
Yeah.
to get them engaged in your gameplay. So I think that's a very funny illustration of that.
Just to toss in there, what I commented on early was actually the smoothness of the teach,
Oh,
not
okay.
specifically entering in with the story.
Okay.
While the narrative was good and is very rulebook like, it was how fluid you were
Mm.
despite Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's actually quite true. Yeah, you were very facile. Um, so playmats are definitely an add-on that you could do,
Yeah.
right?
Like extended full play mats,
Yeah,
you mean?
full playmats for
Yeah.
each player. Um, plus the whatever one for the middle with the discard or whatever.
Yeah.
That's an add-on. That's an extra. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if they are 25, $30 that people can
That's
tack onto the campaign.
that's feedback that I've been getting a lot
Okay,
lately.
yeah,
Like bifold player mat, like Wingspan, right? Probably the most
sure,
popular example that has game deck size cards.
yeah,
It's like full bifold. It
Yeah.
could, be more compact.
Yeah,
But
but I love
yeah.
I love the car. I love as is for
Mhm,
keeping price point down, but then an
mhm.
add-on for larger play for the
Well,
folks
and
that want that.
one of the things I've been considering too with that, given the art, is if you look at the playmat for theme and for ease of learning, if this is a garden down here, the
Mm-hmm.
gardener should be in the garden and the plants should be in the soil, right? And then the workers should be standing above the soil, planting
I
stuff, right?
I
I
was
don't know,
gonna
just something I've
comment
been
on the
thinking about.
organization of that.
Yeah.
If I have the gardener up here, that's fine. Whoop. Oh, there. If I have the gardener up here, that's fine. But it makes me feel like this spot is special,
Hmm.
even though it's not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a disconnect between like the visual cue.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've thought a lot about that because I used to have it like this, where the gardener sat off to the side
Mm-hmm.
and you have rows, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now the problem with this is this row of seeds has to be 3.
Yep.
Playtesting has just told me,
Yes. Three is correct.
that 3
That was
is
right.
right. If
Yep.
it's 4, you never end up with any pushing. Like
Right.
nothing ever moves. But if this has to be 4 also.
Okay.
If this is 3, it's not
Mm-hmm.
enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
players feel robbed or limited, or
Mm-hmm.
having the ability to add a 4th worker really changes the feel for players. So
Mm-hmm.
just that, even if you never get there, just
Right.
having that flexibility is a hopeful, good feeling that players report. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So the fact that you can place your workers anywhere and only the seeds have to go left to right means that you really don't need this bottom half of this thing could just be here, and then the bottom of it says workers, has an arrow over here off to the,
Oh, interesting.
you know what I mean, and then those 4 on the bottom are all, none not one of them looks like it should be more important than the,
Yeah.
and it actually cuts down on your production cost.
That's kind of interesting.
But I don't need to get too into the weeds. That it just, visually, I want that first worker to be more important, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
or do something different or special.
Yeah.
And if
One of the
not,
things
yeah.
one of the things that have been suggested by players over the course of history is to have vertical interactions too. So if you
Mm,
have a thorn above a worker, that worker can't do a thing, or you have to pay
mm,
fruit to do the thing,
mm,
or and this worker is always protected because they're under the
mm-hmm,
gardener, right? Um, I've received that
mm-hmm,
feedback twice, and I
mm-hmm,
think it's really good feedback.
mm,
However, I do think it's just one notch too
mm-hmm. That's
complex.
what I was gonna say.
So I don't know.
I don't think I think to me that's a fiddly like microtransaction that is just gonna take away from your core game loop that will not be better.
It throws you into AP too,
Yeah.
of like, well, should I play this here? Should I move? Because then if I move, then I can't. And then you're thinking about the order of operations too much. And I think
Yeah, yeah,
it's
I
too
think that's
weighty.
an interesting idea, but I don't.
Yeah.
Um, art. I'm just going in order of what's written on here, not importance. I like how many times your the green borders of things line up.
Yeah.
So, like, these guys.
Yeah.
That one's not a good. But a lot of times
Yeah.
they line up from side to side. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh look, they're standing next to each other in the
In the
in the
garden.
in the garden. Okay,
Yeah.
I just like
Yeah. That was
receive. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, that was the initial concept of the game. So like the box art, which you can see on the background,
Hmm.
um, is the scenes that are on the cards. So you see little like sections from the box art are blown up here. So you have like
Yeah.
reapers in the wheat field and
Yeah.
traders in the
Yeah. That's great.
store.
That's great.
And they're designed to be like tableaus. So like you have all you have all these traders at the end of the
Mhm.
game. You can
Mhm.
put them side by side and they look like they're in the market together.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So
Love it. Okay. Make a triptych. Okay. So receive 1 card per turn max. I don't know where that's written. I just want to make sure that it
what was that?
makes the receive 1 card per turn max, because which includes if you play it into your own or someone plays it into your own, only 1 card can enter your garden max
Yeah.
in the top row unless you are planting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could plant too.
Well, planting counts as receiving a card, right?
So you cannot plant twice
no, it's per action.
for action. Okay.
Yeah. So for a single plant action, you can only receive 1 card into your garden. But if you take 2 plant actions on a turn, you could receive 2 seeds into your garden.
But the planting is a receiving plant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I just want to make sure that wherever that's written, that it is
Yeah.
prominent and that it makes total complete sense.
Yeah, no kidding.
That includes if you put it there, if somebody else puts it there, whether it
Yeah.
was from something that was bumped or whether it was placed in it intentionally.
Yeah.
That is, like, make sure the rule as written, very obvious and prominent, says exactly that.
Yeah.
But concisely.
Yeah.
Because that's super, super core.
Yeah, that's one of the in my little rule book here. That's one of the key rules at the beginning of like how to play is the creep rule, and it does talk about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
My workers all have the cute little dove symbol that lets me know I need a dove to do the thing. Alternatively, old gardener Sir Practicus
Does not
says place a dove to plant.
Yeah, they haven't been redesigned, but they're in design.
Okay.
So
you already know about it.
Yeah, currently what I'm doing is for these particular gardeners, they'll have 2 doves, one for a gardening action and then one for their ability. And then
that's what I wrote down.
Yeah, the other yeah.
1 dove,
Nice.
2 doves. Those are doves.
Sweet. Yep. Yeah, so that's currently something that Melissa and I are working on. Yeah.
Great. You already know. Player aids, too dang tiny. The font on that, you've got to present that information in a different way.
I know.
It's too tiny.
It's the worst.
It's too tiny. Okay.
How much would be enough? Like, do the actions need to be described?
Probably more minimally than you have it here. But, it's one of those things where, like, there is a break-even point where, like, if you don't have that information on the player aid, it's going to cause more issues than just having it be tiny.
Yeah.
But currently, A or B. So in my mind, that's not a choice. Like A and B are not different. A says place a dove on your workers or gardener. B says place a dove on your gardener. So you see how the first one includes the second one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've really struggled with differentiating special abilities from gardening actions.
Well, the thing is, you don't need to, right? Because your gardener is going to have dove gardening action, dove
there you go.
This action. You don't even need to, right? It's not even a thing. Just place a dove on one of your cards that has a dove spot.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then on the player aid, you describe what gardening actions are.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be in your turn summary. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then so you place a dove where there's a dove symbol. until you're out of doves, and then you draw a card.
Yeah.
I would be interested to have you try the game where you just on your turn you place one dove or recall them all if you've already placed them.
Oh
Draw a
yeah.
card.
I mean,
I'd
I
be
have it
interested to
written down and I
see
will
what it
play it.
feels like. My guess is it's probably better as is with placing the two, but try it out, see what happens. Action terminology. Eventually it won't be an issue, but for my second play now, I kept being like, wait, what is a point? What is prey? Like you have some cute words that are thematic. This is a feedback that I'm sure you've heard me give to other people. They are thematic and I get it and it totally makes sense. But I'm like, wait, what is that again?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm drawing two cards. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Planting gets by because you literally only plant seeds, which is like plant a seed is a thing. You don't pray a card.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Appointing is close. You can appoint workers, but you can also appoint many other things. Pruning probably was the other one that I had the least trouble with because you are pruning those bad things in your garden. But yeah, so I would say plant and prune were the ones that kind of just made sense to me. And then pray and appoint, I was like, wait, what is it?
Yeah.
What am I doing with those?
Yeah.
And maybe you'll find that that's consistent with playtest feedback, and that those two are the ones that make don't. Or maybe you will find that everybody's a little different, and some people
Yeah.
struggle with different ones. I don't know. Those
Yeah.
were the two I struggled with.
Yeah. Yeah. I had for a long time 3 actions. It was just
Yeah.
pray, plant, prune, pray.
Mm-hmm.
1, I stumbled over those words every time I said them. But 2, the reason I added a point was very specific because when you appoint a worker, you can stack them in teams for others, and people wanted to make that distinct and like understand that. So that was one reason. But the other reason that those are separated into 2 actions is because when I said play a card, people thought that appointing a worker meant you also do the ability, which is not true. You only do that if you place a dove on them.
Yes.
And that was causing playtest problems.
Interesting.
Until
I think I remember
I
that.
changed it to a point where you place a worker. It's created a lot less confusion with that, which is interesting.
Now, one alternative to these keywords is iconography.
Yeah.
And since there's only 4 actions, you can really cut down on a lot of this wordage on these cards. And then kind of get rid of all of that potential confusion by just having icons.
Interesting.
That's an idea. We already talked about that. No difference between the seeds and no difference among the thorns. I think that might be the right call, but it also that might be a space if you were going to add some interesting decision making, some other things going on. That's definitely a place where you can do that. Like I said, your workers are already unique, and you have several of those, and they work differently. So for a 30-minute game, maybe that is just much to add that variability. But it is something as a gamer that I wanted to.
Yeah.
But that might not be your target audience.
Yeah.
That might not be representative of your target audience, just because I want to see.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so this game was developed out of a game I originally just called New Kingdom, and now I have that split off as New Kingdom Builders.
Yeah.
And that game has every worker is completely different. There are no types. It's just like all of the workers have individual abilities, and all of the Empire deck which are the negative cards like thorns,
Mhm.
they're all unique. So they all
Yeah.
have a unique
Right.
effect on you
Yeah.
as a player.
Yeah.
Uh,
It might be good to
workers.
keep this one simple like that, but
Yeah.
and
But
then me as a gamer, I'll be like, well, I'm gonna play New Kingdom
builders,
Builders because
right.
it's got more of the juice that I like, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And that's okay.
yeah, but that's duly noted. One thing that I'm playtesting in expansion is
Mm-hmm.
Seeds, different kinds of seeds that grow
Mm-hmm.
fruit as they move.
Mm-hmm.
So this starts out as one, but if it's a special type, it
Mm-hmm.
adds a fruit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you move it to the second spot, it adds 2 fruit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it leaves, you collect those.
Oh, when it moves to someone else, you collect the fruit.
Yeah, yeah. If it's been growing fruit in your garden. Um, just
That's
something I'm thinking about. I
that's
don't know.
interesting. If there's only one type of fruit that does that,
Yeah.
it might be kind of too much of a diversion. Like if there's not like several different things that are possible, it might just be like one weirdo that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But that is an interesting idea,
Yeah.
and I would see that as a like a promo card kind of
Yeah,
scenario, or
it's
an
expansion.
expansion, or an
Yeah.
expansion kind of.
Yeah, I'm testing it for expansion.
Good.
And
That's exactly how I would use
yeah, I'm also testing enemies, which are
it.
workers that are negative.
Cool. Yeah.
So they go in the bottom row and they get
I
stuck
think
there and you
I
can't get
think
rid of
that
them.
stuff is great for
Yeah.
expansion term. Yep.
Yeah, it's all
Yep.
like
Yep. Yep.
rules exception
Yeah.
weirdness.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Um, bonus act.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes when I've cut worker types, by the way, this is a test just or a note just for designers. If you have something you love and you have to kill it, you don't have to kill the darling entirely. You can just move the darling somewhere else,
Yeah.
like to expansion material
Right.
or to another game.
Yeah. My buddy Shane, the owner of Gray Fox Games, he makes fun of me all the time because he's always like, yeah, when you handed me that pile of garbage, we had to shape it up and cut out half the game, so that you could bring it back in expansions.
Yeah.
He's like, it was unplayable, too much garbage in there.
Yeah.
And obviously he just we like to make fun of each other, but
Yeah.
but to some degree he's right. Like, I had too much complexity in the base game, and we chopped out half of the complexity, and so now when you see that 3.5 BGG rating and the person's like, too complex, you're like, whew, glad we
You're like,
didn't
brother, you have no idea.
glad we didn't leave in the other half.
You don't know what this game could be.
You know what I mean? So there's definitely, yes, I think those ideas are really cool, and I think expansion material for it.
Cool.
Yep. Bonus action prey.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's a rules exception.
that is a rules exception that, as the person that did not get a free 2 cards, felt bad. And then I'm like, so Jack beat me with an asterisk.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because he
Yeah.
got 2 free cards.
Yeah. That's
Sam
true.
lost with an asterisk. He had to spend actions for all of his cards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
So, I understand that when you don't have cards, it feels like, ooh, I should get a couple for free. But you literally have an action for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, good point.
It's not like there's no way out. You go,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess I'm using a dove to draw a couple of cards.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I ran out of cards.
Yeah.
Because I didn't keep my hand full of choices like
Sure.
Sam did.
Yeah, I wasn't praying earlier. Yeah,
So
well, and that's easy. I have vacillated on that a lot, but I think just cut it. It's a rules
that's what
exception.
I would do. To me, I was just like, wait, what? You get free
It's
cards?
much easier in Q&A to be like, what do I do if I'm out of cards? I guess you gotta pray.
That's one of your actions. You pray to get some cards. Divine inspiration up in here.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. Literally, there's not that many actions. So yeah, it's possibly opens up an interesting exploit that somebody could use as a strategic choice. But at the end of the day, it just seems like that's the best way to game it if it exists, is to use it as much as possible to get those cards without having to perform.
Mm.
So in my mind, it's probably just a straight rules exception, not beneficial to the play.
Okay.
But then I don't know. So I actually won the game, just in case anyone.
Yeah. Fair.
Um, and then just a couple of things I noticed about play strategy to my current understanding of the game.
Okay.
Pruning to my immediate left is always better because I'm significantly less likely to end up with bad stuff in my garden. Because that creates the space that won't get pushed over into my garden. Whereas if I prune, your garden over here, and I leave all these bad things over here, they're coming my way eventually.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to get rid of the incoming flow to my left is the priority.
I think that that's true, Evan,
Okay.
unless the person immediately to the left of you has more points than you do. Because then you might look over and go,
so my second note is,
I'm going to prune from Sam.
The second note is, don't spend time pruning from the left at the end of the game. Because cards are not going to be pushed.
Yeah, maybe not.
Cards are not being pushed because everyone's pruning to get those points.
Yeah.
And to get them out of their garden.
Yeah.
Right? So actually, the last round or two,
you're focused on yourself a little bit.
Cards are not getting pushed. And so in that particular case, it changes that strategic focus.
Mm-hmm.
In which case you want to leave them there for that person to get those negative points. So I think it's kind of like a like a Dominion kind of thing. You have to choose when you pivot from pruning from the left of you to leaving those there.
Yeah.
Based on the likelihood that they're going
to. Yeah. Personally, I see that feedback that you just gave as astute observation and good strategy.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad game thing. It was just something I noticed where I'm like, I think that's true. Where that's pretty much going to be the best way to prune.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think one exception to that might also be depending on what the other gardener abilities are. That might also influence you some, because one of the gardeners, I have the ability to prune.
Yeah.
But also, Dr. Melissa, she gets to prune for 1 fruit instead of 2. So the more you can prevent her from pruning, the better. So you might say, even if she's seated to your right, or you have a player seated to your right with a bunch of thorns, you might prune from them to prevent her from pruning from them, because she's going to earn more points on those.
Hey, so she is supposed to say pay only 1 fruit when pruning. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, the gardeners weren't updated. They were lagging.
I was reading that and listening to what you said. I was like, wait a minute.
Wait, what are you talking
1,
about?
2, you carry the 1. That's not the same. Okay, I could see that. And then the other thing is my gardener ability and Sam's gardener ability, I don't think are compelling enough to be considered like interesting asymmetrical abilities. Because those are so easy to acquire through workers, right? Those basic actions are so easy to acquire through workers that I think I would strive to come up with gardeners that are all more like Gardener Melissa or whoever that was.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
Yeah, Dr. Melissa.
Dr. Melissa. I would strive to have them, rather than kind of be maybe useful at the very beginning before you have a tableau of workers to choose from that are going to duplicate that extra ability anyway with no extra doves to need that extra capacity, to actually have them with a strategic pathway, or that might lead you to playing different styles, um, of game.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
the asymmetrical benefits are kind of like a moot point most of the,
Mm.
at least the ones that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To make them more better.
Okay, make them better. Yeah.
Make them more better.
Yeah. Just for reference too, if you
Yeah.
want to poke around at them, these are all of the gardeners,
Oh,
so you
okay.
can see kind of what they do.
This dove rearrange top 3 cards. Oh yeah, see that's a different ability.
Yeah, and I kind of have
Place your
them tiered,
doves
so you
on the
have like
workers.
beginner gardeners and then
Yeah,
like advanced gardeners.
yeah. I just
Um,
think these. I mean,
Part of that is
again,
like to scale down for kids too,
yeah.
or for
Again, this is
simplicity of
coming
teach.
from gamer nerd talking about
Yeah.
a game that's you know I should be playing New Kingdom Builders, right? So
Sure.
so like maybe you're right. Maybe it does need to be that straightforward, but that was the sense that I got, at least.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, all those things that I said, I still love the doves as like the worker, the action thing.
Mm.
And that has, because I remember from the iteration I played where like confusion between workers and actions was really high, and it was difficult to understand whether you were triggering a worker or using a worker to trigger a worker. It was all this
Yeah.
weirdness, and so
Yeah.
I'm really glad you decided to go with the with the doves. I love it, and it's the thing that gives this, like, I don't know, a little paprika right on top, where you're like, look at those cute little dove maples. Like,
Yeah.
I just love them. I think they're super super marketable.
Thanks, Evan.
And it's not until you get into the gameplay of the thing where you go, oh, this is a little different, right? Oh, we're passing these cards around, and I'm sticking you with some thorns, that I might choose to prune for you, or I might not. Like, there is some, if I just look at this on the table, the doves are the only thing where I'm like, oh, maybe it's not just a regular old cards on a table game.
Yeah.
Maybe it
I
does.
was
Maybe it does do something different.
I was playing this at I showed another designer's game for a Lucy Award at
Mm-hmm.
ETX,
Mm-hmm.
Evergreen Tabletop Expo in
Yeah.
Seattle, for Playtest Northwest.
Yeah.
And we were playing this game, and this guy was like walking by,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Whoa, those cards are moving."
Yeah. Right.
Like, stop.
Right.
And he was like, "What are you doing?" And we're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, they move." And
My
he's like, "Well,
tableau
do
is
those
your
move?" And I
tableau.
was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna play." And he sat
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and played. And I was like,
So
"Oh, that's
yeah,
cool."
unless you watch gameplay, it just
Yeah.
looks like any other card game, right?
All right. Yeah.
But then you have those doves and the figgies. I love the doves and the figgies. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then the actual gameplay, I still like the basic, like I did. Got that row that moves around, and you have to decide how you're going to do that. My only real, gameplay critique, I think, is, and I would have to play a bunch more times to really know, what are the main strategic pathways. Are they divergent enough, and are they balanced ish? Because I suspect that there are enough, and it probably is pretty well balanced. But I didn't try them all, right? Like, because you've got the stacking the workers,
Mm.
you've got the two variants of stacking workers. Do I just go straight for points, or do I go for extra doves? Right? Because I think you had that as a choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, So you've got the two different pathways there, and if you have those two pathways, then it's like, okay, then early game you go for the extra doves, and then at some point you switch to the extra figs.
Yeah.
There's going to be a break point at which it's better to do one or the other.
Yeah.
So I think so you've got your stacking the workers, you've got your pruning things, and managing the card flow. What else is there?
For strategies
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, stacking workers, managing card flow. The other thing is pruning. So,
right.
how much you're pruning and where you're pruning and when
Yeah.
you're pruning
Okay.
is important. Another important potential feature is drawdown, which is pushing the end game, right? So you get ahead and you
And
say,
then
"Oh,
draw down.
I'm gonna pray a bunch
I see.
and
Okay.
see what
Beat up
happens."
the end game. Okay.
Hmm.
Cool. Yeah. Half-hour card game. I'm not convinced it needs to have 18 equally viable strategies, right? Like it's probably good as is. It frankly makes me want to play more to dive in and find out for
What you can
myself.
do. Oh,
You know what I
hey,
mean?
cool.
But so yeah, it,
That's great.
it's a question I have. It's not an indictment of it.
Yeah. No, it is, and it's a good question. It's that question, Evan, that I think I agonize over the most at this,
Mm.
like in this stage of the game is like,
Mm-hmm.
could I do something more interest? Could I add more interest
Mm-hmm.
somehow?
Mm-hmm.
It's always in the back of my mind because I figure like until a game is shipped,
Right.
you can change whatever you want, right?
Right.
So is there something else that could be done is something that I am asking myself. And
I
thinking about asymmetry is one way that
I
that
I,
could happen.
I think it's
But
probably fine
mhm,
at its current complexity level for its current audience, and you can save most of that stuff for the expansions with the variations on the
yeah.
thorns.
Hmm.
You could have a front side back side for your gardeners.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? Where you've got like play with the kids, play with the gamers,
that's
um,
interesting.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Easy hard
Yeah.
mode. But generally, yeah, I'm asking a lot of questions, but really, I think it's sitting in a pretty good spot.
Mm, sweet. Thanks,
But
Evan.
yeah.
I want to read Trevor's in the chat. Hi, Trevor.
Oh, great.
If you're still there. He said, I like the expansion push your luck idea for the seed movement. If it can capture that feeling of should I or shouldn't I,
Hmm.
and the idea of bad guys, as long as it's not to take that. I have a well-known aversion to take that. Yeah. Yeah, push your luck. Push your luck is something I like. I like that push and pull. I always
Yeah.
think that that's a mechanic that can do that.
Yeah.
I actually started working on a push your luck game a little bit ago and was like, what am I doing? I need to keep working on the game I'm working on.
Don't
Um,
forget everything else he said though, Jack. He said, I'm late. I'm late. Dub it up. Hi everyone. So
Dove it up.
Dub it up.
I love
Nice.
it.
Thanks, Trevor. All right. Evan, anything else or
Um, I just had something that left my brain, but no, I think it's come a long way, despite the fact that your actually basic gameplay hasn't really changed much. I think it's come a long way with flow and presentation, um, and really like carving away the extra bits of stone to reveal the thing that was always there underneath. You know,
yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like just personally as a mechanic, I really like spending victory points as a resource. That's one of my things that I like
Yeah.
in games. But
Yep.
so I like that here.
It's always an interesting tension because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll do it.
Obviously I left points on the
Yeah.
board because they were in
Yeah.
my hand, right, instead
Yeah.
of played.
Right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't get those
Which
points. I
is
should.
which is a mechanic we didn't see anybody do. Growers. Yeah, you had a grower actually.
Yeah,
But one of the things what growers do, just for and if in case anybody's interested, or if you're interested, Sam, growers allow you to place seeds on or fruit on seeds. So if you have a grower, you can place two fruit on a seed, and that's where a really good synergy is grower reaper, right? So you have a grower in your garden, you have a reaper. A reaper allows you to harvest those seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Another good synergy is grower monk, because you can grow and then you can use those to prune. So
Mm-hmm.
those are all, strategies that can be employed.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I think with the different workers, there's probably enough strategic depth at this as is.
Cool. Nice. All right, Sam.
All right. Gameplay flows very smoothly. Just right off the bat, I do really like that. All the mechanics make sense. It's good. It's solid. I agree with Evan on a few things, and I disagree with Evan on a few things.
All right.
First of all, the why not one dove per round question that came up very early.
Yeah.
It gives you enough to do during your turn, having 2 actions. So you have a more fulfilling turn. 2, it actually, if you're able to get a third dove, it is so hard to get a third dove from what I'm looking at. That was my whole strategy from the very beginning, and I paid dearly for it.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing all the luck mitigation I can, drawing as hard as I can
Man.
in order to find a way to get a third dove.
Right.
And the cards just weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Who are
didn't
we
draw into
missing?
that third worker of the same type.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There was never a point when I had a chance to drop a third worker on myself or someone else.
Man. Yeah, I mean, there's a big issue. Look at that. Look at all the workers in the sideboard.
So, and that may be the thing. That may just be how the game ended up dealt out in this random circumstance. I chose possibly a higher risk strategy that just couldn't pay off.
Yeah.
But just because of that, because how much harder it is to pull off getting a third dove, with the exception of the one character you have that just has 3 actions, I think it's worthy for it to have a greater benefit. And even that 3 actions there, the other workers seem to have pretty strong abilities too to offset that. I'm just running through Evan's advice real quick, and I put in smiley faces and frowny faces next to him on whether or not I agreed.
Awesome. I love it.
The playmats is an add-on. I had kind of a sideways face on though.
Oh, okay.
So I do agree with Evan with the shape of the playmat. Like it currently, it's like, does this playmat actually do anything for me? I'm not sure. Possibly just cut it out.
When I say playmat as add-on, I'm talking about something that looks like this.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I heard you. And,
Okay.
I agree with that. I would actually go playmat full level in the deluxe version, and then do starting paper playmats, or go no playmat, starting paper playmat stretch goal. And then use that as something that could increase. That was just my thought when I was engaging with this.
Like, but
of course, the paper playmats, they're cheap. They feel cheap.
Yeah.
You may not want to have that in your game if it doesn't reach all stretch goals. So that's always something to think about. And the starting gardener abilities being uninteresting, I think the bigger thing is they're harder to balance, those specific gardener abilities, because they are just a second of the gardener ability. But I did really like Evan's idea of double-sided on the gardeners, and do advanced side on one, the other side have 2 gardener ability slots. So you can just use that however you want. So for example, your character, you could potentially prune twice with your character, right?
Mhm.
Right.
In a turn. I could potentially pray twice during my turn.
Mhm.
Get a lot more potential by pruning twice than praying twice. From how it looks with the balance of the cards in the action economy, really.
Yeah, those actions
Um,
aren't necessarily equal.
yeah.
Right.
So, but if each one was just you have 2 slots for your gardener abilities on that side, you have a very basic card, runs the same basic mechanics that you have to be used to for the game. But so it doesn't make the game any more challenging, and it could even compare to some of the stronger cards across the board. You've just got a lot more flexibility with that, and that could even in your starting setup with the game, you deal out those and you choose which side you're going to use. Kind of terraforming Mars, unless you're playing ranked online, you're going to end up starting with you have your beginner corporation that you can always take, or you have your 2 other corporations.
Right. Yeah.
So
Can I interject real fast?
Mhm.
The drawing cards, if the keyword is prey, prey doesn't have to mean draw 2 cards. The gardener who's good at praying can their dev ability can pray 3. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like you
yeah.
can modify
Yeah.
the number of
Like,
cards you draw to make it equivalent to taking one of the other actions. If that needs to be bumped up, there's different ways of
Mhm.
yeah, no, that's an interesting point. Like you when you plant 2 seeds or something like that. Yeah. That.
That was my
All right.
interruption.
Keep going, Sam.
I wrote down early on what's the reason for for it moving counterclockwise. I realize that now it's because you read left to right, so the cards moving left to right makes a lot more sense, and the gameplay moving the same way. So that makes perfect sense. Totally get it.
You know what's funny about that?
Mm.
I have to stipulate it because clockwise is conventional.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oftentimes play goes to the left. But the funny thing is when I playtest this game, people just naturally move to the right playing it. So I think it's one of those things I'll put in the rule book that says like play moves to the right and like with some sort of note on the side that says like though this is odd, it will feel normal when you start
Yeah,
playing it because
Mhm.
it does start to feel normal.
yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That made a lot of sense later on. And then the reference cards, I had actually written that down before Evan got into the reference cards. Um, the gardening actions, the way you have them set up there right now,
Yeah.
that was my confusion early on, and I still didn't quite. It was the one thing that actually kind of held me back
Yeah.
in
Mm,
catching up to how the game played so quick.
mm.
The way you have those gardening actions laid out on the reference card, that looked like it was a different step almost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So I kept wondering, like, and that's why it led to a little bit of confusion. Evan's turn, I thought he did 3 things. I thought he did dove, and then this, and so just like Evan said, just give those a little bit of attention. But everything else, everything played smooth. All of the actions. I probably wouldn't go with a high draw strategy again in the future.
Yeah.
Um,
Praying is one of those things that's like uh, a few times a game, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
well, as the good book says, pray incessantly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Or
That means all
pray.
the time.
If it is just a feel bad, like, oh no, I ran out of cards, maybe praying does need to draw 3. I don't know.
Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, no, everything else really cool, really smooth. I think you hit your target audience just right where you want to be with the mechanics and everything. I I could see very easily someone at a very young age being able to play this game. Are you doing unique illustrations for each one of the
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so the characters are all individuals.
Okay.
Right, like all of the gardeners obviously are because they're named, but
Mhm.
like the traders, there are 4 traders and they all have unique individuals on them. Uh
That may
you
slow down some younger children, but
Mm.
not that many.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the age range that I have stated right now is 10 plus.
mhm.
I played with a couple 10-year-olds and it went fine.
Oh,
Um,
you could play with younger too.
Yeah, I think so. I think
I
maybe 8.
I know I've engaged with 6-year-olds who could play this game.
Yeah,
They would
oh
need
yeah,
some help their first couple of times, but
yeah.
yeah, dude. I mean, depends on the kid, but like I had a 9-year-old that came over and learned after the Empire and was teaching everyone else at the table.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be kids that are 5 and 6 that can play this.
Yeah.
Um, that kid could play any game. What was I going to say? Yeah, I forgot. Keep going, sorry.
I that's all as far as critiques. Everything else is great and smooth. Yeah, it's can't say
Li-
any more without playing more,
Cool. Yeah.
and I would play
Absolutely.
it again. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's the best feedback
Mhm.
to
Would
get.
play again.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for your feedback. Super helpful for me. I think like for me, the big thing that is like bubbling to the top for me
Yeah,
is
yeah.
is
What's your takeaways?
graphic design stuff. I definitely want to think about I think I'm going to play from now on with my playtests without that bonus action pray.
Yeah.
And just see if it causes any complaints. I think for the most part, people will just be like, what do I do if I have no cards? And you're like, pray, I don't know, play a dove on one of your workers.
What are your
Uh,
actions?
yeah. And it will probably be fine. That's a question I've had in the back of my mind. Figuring out the issue with the play mats and the player aids is really important to me. I'm really thinking through iconography and how I can utilize graphic design to aid in teaching and concept teach. So I'm really eager to see what adding the doves to the gardeners does, how that helps. Um, and I'm really intrigued by what you said, Evan, about adding icons for those gardening actions.
Yeah.
And I wonder, Sam, do you think that that would have helped with you on the player aid, like catch those actions if they were, icon based? Do you think that that presentation would have done anything? Um,
Um, maybe. Really, what it was with the player aid is the choose one per turn.
mhm.
When when that part gets moved to or if you get that moved to the gardeners, the gardening action has a slot on the gardener card. You get rid of that on the player aid.
Yeah.
And when you get rid of that on the player aid, then I know that all that information is on that card and I don't get this confusing part. And then you're actually able to get rid of A, B gardening actions.
Yeah.
And then you just have what the gardening actions are on there.
Oh, okay.
That's actually what really fixes the problem that I engaged with.
Yeah,
Because
it's
then
the A and
on
B.
your turn, place dove, do what dove says,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
place next dove, do what dove says
Yep.
until you're out of doves, and then you draw a card and recall your doves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so
the A and B
got,
case.
yeah. Then you've got draw 2 cards, plant, appoint, prune.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Cool. So like as an icon, if you want to keep prey as the the thematic thing with why you're drawing cards,
Mm-hmm.
then you can just do something like that. So that's supposed to be not
Pray
it's
hands.
that's praying hands
Yeah.
with like a
Like,
little glow
yeah.
around it, and then
Gotcha.
it's over the top
Totally.
of a card with a number next to it. You know what I
For
mean?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a
Free.
tiki mask.
Yeah. I know. I was looking at that too.
I
And
know
then
you.
I saw, from Evan's perspective.
Yeah. Those are praying hands. But like you can do simple icons like that that still keep the thematic ideas of what you're saying, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more straightforward to just look at that and be like, oh, I'm drawing 3 cards.
Totally.
and
I
that's
haven't,
symbolic of print.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have an icon for seeds. I used to have icons for the card types, but was convinced that I don't think they're necessary. I think they were noise on the
Mm.
cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had an icon for worker, thorn, seed,
Mm-hmm.
miracle. And I just don't think they really add anything to the game because they're so different stylistically that you can tell them apart without icons.
Yeah.
Um, but the icon for planting is pretty cool. It's a little hand with a little seed popping out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
I kind of like that. But
I like it. I tend to be more like, if there's a continuum of fan of icon versus words, I tend to be
more
very
icon.
far towards the icon side more than some other folks prefer.
Yeah.
But that's my preference.
Yeah, there's always some sort of middle where I've realized from just polls, but also from playtesting, complete language independence is pretty tough. Like a lot of people push against that pretty strongly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I respect it, and I think that there's a really good reason for it, and it maybe lends itself to certain types of games more than others, like puzzly type games or something like that. But
Yep.
um, yeah, cool. Any other thoughts, Sam?
No, I think that was everything.
Sweet. Thank you
Uh,
guys. Thank you
Bra-
guys for playing Gardeners. I really appreciate it.
yeah, man. Brandon says,
Thanks
sorry,
for
he
the
couldn't.
opportunity.
Oh, okay. Trevor
Um,
thought that you were drawing a yeah. Go for it.
I thought it was a golden Indiana Jones mini statue.
oh, okay. I like it. We're changing your theme here real quick, Jack.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like there's not enough whips or cool hats.
Yeah, yes. And what you're gonna
Uh,
need is a little indie maple.
Now hear me out. What if you're digging for fossils?
Yes.
Yeah.
Diana was the dog's name.
Oh
Yeah.
no, there was an art thing.
Oh,
Are pineapples native to the region?
no. No, you see, actually, this is an interesting thing. Um, a lot of these things are not native to like the Middle East or
Mm.
anything. And technically the game is not set in the Middle East. It's set in the New Kingdom. And that is devoid of culture. So you'll see people of all different like ethnicities and
Mm.
cultures and stuff. And that was an intentional decision.
Uh,
So like the pineapple is one of those things where you're like, what the heck? Like, why is there a pineapple?
where are
But
we
like,
right now? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Where is this new kingdom that has figs and pineapples?
yeah. Everybody's there, right? People of every kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really tried to that was something that I think Melissa is awesome at. Like
Mm-hmm.
just her character design is so cool. She does so good with like different expressions and like different
Yeah.
types of characters.
Mhm.
Like just look at these three characters right here in the top draw. Like I just love all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the art.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a lot of fun working on it. It was kind of a chore to find an artist to connect with, but
Yeah.
like having an artist where you do have a really good connection makes a really big difference in a game's development.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been very very fun
Yeah.
for us to work on it together and go back and
Yeah.
forth. And uh,
Let
I
me
ask her all the time, is it still fun? She's like, yeah, it's still fun. I'm like, okay,
cool.
good. We're having fun. That's
So
important.
now, Jack, this question would be more of like a follow up on the podcast,
Oh, okay.
but I saw a post that Sam made that was talking about how important it is to put art and graphic design on your prototype early in the process.
Mm,
And my natural instinct is completely the opposite,
mm,
um, for different reasons. But the reasons Sam outlined were 100% accurate, right? Like the things you said are true. I just believe I think the other way is better for other reasons. But Jack, where do you stand on that, and how did that influence your prototyping?
well, yeah, I'll say this. The this game's development is intertwined with the art pretty heavily. Like figuring out how the 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 movement of the thorns
Yeah.
made a lot more sense as the art started to come up, and like the art coming up really made it make a lot of sense as I started to think about like, well, what do these things mean? Like this is a picture of anger, right? And this is a
Mm.
picture of greed.
Mhm.
Like greed has these roots that are like deep into the ground, they're spreading all over the place. Anger is kind of like rearing up to snap, right? And it's like
Mhm.
you get the sense of like the maliciousness of these things is very organic, natural. It's kind of like, where'd this come from? Why is this here? Like, what are we gonna do about this, right? And now like as Melissa started working on the art for it, it helped in reinforce that mechanic. But here's the other thing, and this is why I think adding art and graphic design at some point in your prototyping is
Yeah.
really important.
Mhm.
Is there are two things, like Sam, you noticed like I practice the teach a lot. I've taught a lot of different ways. I try to teach very thoroughly, especially for designers, because designers have lots of questions. They're like,
Yes.
okay, I want to know everything that I can do. If I was playing with like my family or something, I might say like, you get these cards, you do these things, we'll learn as we go,
Yeah.
and kind of walk through some mechanics as we go. But for a forum like this, I would teach. Art helps your teach astronomically,
Mhm.
because the graphic design, even if it's simple graphic design, doesn't have to be fully fledged, but simply having an icon like, oh, a piece of fruit, and you say like fruit are victory points and currency, and then you have like a little fruit icon, instantly easier for people to remember than just like, well, what is this three? Three of what? Is that a cost? Is that, what is it? Um, so I think having some simple graphic design helps, uh, can help with play testing frustrations.
Mhm.
They can help you kind of over the hump, and they can help you identify things. We talked about filtering at the beginning of this. And I think like when you're filtering feedback and you're trying to determine like, people, especially frustrations with play, there's always a question in the back of my mind before art is applied to a game. Could art solve this?
Mhm.
Like, would graphic design solve this problem or make this issue that I find fiddly or complex easy? And until you have seen some graphic design on the cards, you can't really answer that question very well. Sometimes you can,
Yeah.
because you just realize like, oh, this is mechanical and it's always going to be kind of weird. But when there's a question, one thing that can help is having art. So that's one thing I think is helpful, is that it helps you filter feedback that you're getting, especially around frustrations with your game. The second piece I think is really, really helpful is for motivation. Like as soon as I start seeing character cards, like once Melissa started illustrating workers, man, I just wanted to play this game a lot more, because every single time I saw a new worker, I was like, yep, yeah, like look at the uh look at the trader here, like the seller, like she's all excited about her plant, like I'm excited about her plant, like I want to trade cards with people, like the more art that gets applied, the more you see this like vision of your game coming alive.
Mhm.
And I think it's a really good uh, extrinsic motivator to keep you kind of going.
Yeah.
Um, Also, uh, another factor to the motivation is having skin in the game, because you have to pay for art. It commits you, if you're on the fence about a design and you're like pretty close where you're like, okay, well, this design could be a game to publish, or it could be a game to self-publish, or it could be a game to crowdfund in any way, or to that I should print and sell. Like, and you're kind of like, or not, putting some art behind it can
Mhm.
give you that push to say like, okay, like now I got to do something with it because I'm pot
Yeah.
committed. Like when you're playing poker, right? Like
Yeah.
I've already got something into this, so I need to see it through. And that can be bad if you've commissioned art early for a game that's going nowhere,
Mhm.
but it can be good when you have a good design and you just need a little bit of an extra push to keep it going and keep you
Cool.
focused on it, so that you turn a profit rather than just eat art costs forever.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Good thoughts. So we've added something to this playtest and design discussion. Um, cool. Well, let's wrap it up and let everybody go to bed.
Sweet. Normally, this is where I would sign off and say, Jack, how do you contact you? But I'll just tell you guys, if you're looking for New Kingdom gardeners, if you want to connect, Discord is a great place to connect with me for playtesting. I do most of my chatting through Discord. It's a great place to just chat the game or get together on a playtest and schedule. I do all my scheduling on Discord, New Kingdom Gaming. And then I also have my email. If you want to follow along on email, you can sign up at newkingdomgaming.com. Right now, my company website. And then Facebook group for this game is New Kingdom Gardeners. And the Facebook group is active. There are, I think, 90 people on there right now. So just slowly growing like a garden, right?
So I just to throw out there, because I play tested your sign up sheet today too.
Nice.
If somebody subscribes to you, they have to read your welcome letter, because your welcome letter requires them to go back and confirm their subscription.
Oh, it does?
Interesting.
Yeah, the way you've got it set up. So
interesting.
if you subscribe to New Kingdom Gaming,
oh man, I don't want that.
Look for that welcome letter.
Yeah,
You put a barrier up.
I thought I had actually fixed that, so thank you for letting me know, because that's something.
It may be it still sends out the newsletter, but from the process I went through, it sent me back to confirm. So I don't know if I'll get your next newsletter before I did that or not.
Okay, interesting. We'll have to. I'll reach out to you next time I send one and say, "Did you get it, Sam?"
Well, I will get it now because I did.
But would he have got it if he didn't do the confirmation?
Yeah.
I'll use my.
I guess I can sign up with another email. That's what I'll do. I'll sign up with another email and I'll let you know.
Cool. Thanks for signing up, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's I'm really excited to keep playtesting, keep pushing it along. If you want to see the gardeners, they'll be updated next week when Melissa's back from vacation, and we'll have full art at that point.
Nice.
Pretty soon, I'll be releasing print and play files for blind testing too. So if anybody's interested in blind testing, let me know. I can send you over the card files, and we can set that up too.
Cool.
Yes.
Awesome, Sam. Always a pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me on again.
Yep. And let's do a recap of your contact stuff.
Oh, you don't need a recap of my contacts.
No.
Outrun the Bear.
Yeah. Okay. OutrunTheBearGame.com.
Yeah,
that's
there we go.
All my current project.
OutrunTheBearGame.com.
But Jack's the star tonight, so
all right, that's fair.
Signed up for Jack first.
That's fair.
Evan's the star. We all know this.
Oh, come on. I'm the complainer. I'm the old man.
Yes, young bucks. Keep you in.
Get out of my lawn.
All right. Well, until next time, that was Playtest This.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Trevor said the art looks amazing.
Oh,
nice.
Much
all right.
appreciated.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.